He was just a little ball of fluff when we found him, a tiny gray kitten hiding under a big oak tree. His eyes were closed tight, and he cried softly, a sound that made our hearts ache. We weren't planning on getting another cat. Our old cat, Smudge, was still the boss of the house. But this little guy, all alone and lost, found his way to us, and we just couldn't say no. We named him Baby, a good name for the smallest, most helpless little creature we'd ever seen. Old Smudge wasn't too happy about Baby at first. He hissed and spat, his tail puffed up like a big brush, but Baby wasn't scared. He walked right up to Smudge, mewing softly. Something about that little cry made Smudge change his mind. He lowered his head and let Baby snuggle up next to him. And that's how their friendship started. A grumpy old cat and a playful kitten, making our home feel warm and happy. Baby was always getting into funny little accidents. He'd try to jump and miss, landing in a furry heap with a surprised meow. He'd try to catch pretend mice and fall headfirst into his water bowl. We'd laugh at his silly antics, shaking our heads. But it was his sweet personality that we really loved. He was so gentle, he wouldn't even hurt a fly. He'd even try to be friends with the spiders that made webs in our house. His favorite thing to do was curl up on my lap while I worked. He'd push his paws into my legs, purring softly. Being with him was so comforting, a warm, furry weight on my chest as I dealt with life's ups and downs. He was like a quiet friend, his bright green eyes looking up at me with so much love. Life wasn't always easy. There were times of worry and sadness, times when things felt dark, but Baby was always there. He didn't try to tell me what to do or say anything. He just sat with me, a furry gray friend, and listened. He'd rub against my leg, purring softly, and the sound seemed to calm me down. I remember one really tough night. The news was bad, and I felt down too. I was sitting in my chair, lost in thought, when Baby jumped onto my lap. He curled up on my chest, and his weight felt so comforting. He looked up at me, his green eyes full of understanding. And for a little while, things didn't seem so bad. He wasn't just my friend. He was also a friend to Smudge, our older cat, and a fun uncle to our neighbor's little ginger kitten, Marmalade, who would often sneak into our house to play. Baby even put up with our daughter Emily when she came along. He would watch her carefully, his tail twitching, but he never hissed or scratched. He just watched over her, like a furry guardian angel, as she learned to walk.